That's why photography is so important. It keeps those moments alive. Notice how my husband doesn't even jump when things crash? My nickname is Crash. What'd you say, baby?
I said it used to worry me, it doesn't anymore.
Not anymore. Now he hears crashing and he knows, so...
Everything's normal.
Everything's fine. I used to be a mime, and so when other people were learning how to use computers and getting their degrees, I was traveling across Europe doing the wall and the balloon and the walk in the storm. And so one year I was performing, and I didn't know it, but a busload of deaf children were brought into the performance. So when it was finished, they came running up to me and they were signing. Well, I didn't know sign language. And I realized that if I was going to work in the realm of silence, even if it's just, doing a little balloon and mime, that I should learn the real language of silence. Well, I was living in New York eventually, and I went up to the School for the Deaf, and I was there for 12 years as resident poet. Then when I moved to Missoula, there was no work for me, because the only thing I want to do is poetry with kids, hearing or deaf. I knew I didn't want to find a job that didn't mean anything to me. So there was a woman named Virginia Carmichael, and she had come to my poetry reading, and she asked to meet with me. And when we met, we discussed the possibility of a Writers in Residence program in the schools of Missoula. So I founded the Missoula Writing Collaborative in 1994 with 5 schools as our pilot schools. And now, 16 years later, we have 11 writers, and we're in well over a dozen schools, including the Reservation and Heidelberg, Alaska. We have a published author come into the classroom and talk to the kids about the job opportunities of being an author, the sensibilities of being a writer, and to convey our enthusiasm and love for writing. And the writer goes in originally and talks to the kids and gets them excited, and I will read them other examples that children have written because they respond so well to each other's work. And after I've given them a prompt, I give them 15 to 20 minutes of silent writing time. And then the last part of the class, the kids come up and sit in the author's chair in front and read their work out loud. At the end of the year, we have a collection of poetry called an anthology, and everyone gets one. And then we also have a public poetry reading, whether it's in the school gymnasium or a coffee house. And then the kids get up and read their work out loud to a crowd. These kids, whether they're 4th grade or 7th grade, learn to be braver than most adults because they get up and share their work. The kids find out how much fun writing is, and then they become little authors. The frustrating days are when somebody says, I can't think of anything. Well, then I ask them questions. Colors, animals, what weather are you, what does your house smell like? And eventually they get it, but sometimes there's somebody that is so stumped, and I see their frustration. I see them sitting with an empty page and they just can't think of anything. And on those days, I feel like I'm not doing my job right. But then, a few weeks later, the same kid will write a poem that will knock my socks off, and then I'll realize I can't, by myself, decide I'm not doing good work, because I don't know. And then I find out, weeks, years, months later, that it actually had a huge effect on that child. I came from a really dysfunctional family with alcoholism and battering, and I bit my nails and wet the bed and had nervous tics, and I felt outside and less and unnecessary. I never felt I belonged anywhere. And in 5th grade, a teacher kept me after school and told me that I was going to be a great writer. And she had me rewrite all my stories in ink, and we sent them off to Stone Soup and Highlights, and every one was rejected. So I just kept writing and writing, and it was a lifesaver because it gave me a new identity and a new life and a new way to look at myself. So a teacher inspired me, and that's why I started the collaborative, because I know you can change a child's life and you can give them the chance to rewrite who they're going to be in a sentence. I would love to export this program to every school in the country. I would like every child to have a chance at discovering who they are and using their imagination and being free and happy about expressing their feelings. They become comfortable with themselves and their writing skills, and I just see it as a major way to keep kids interested in school. And also, no matter what you aspire to, no matter what job you want to do, no matter what career, whether it's filling out a job application or writing a love letter, a letter of complaint, you have to be able to express yourself on paper. And so I want kids to be eager and enthused about putting their ideas on the page. I believe we change lives. Not everyone is going to be a published author, but everyone is going to experience finding their imagination, their potential, their voice. Kids don't know what they have inside of them. A lot of times they'll give me a poem that said, and they'll go, "This isn't very good." And I'll say, "Don't diss yourself. Society is waiting to diss you. Never do it yourself. Always say, this is my work and I'm proud of it." I really sometimes feel that T.S. Eliot is in a child, or a great master poet is in a child, because otherwise there's no explanation for the brilliance and the genius that comes out of children naturally. Their hands are dirty, or their sweater's torn, or they've got wet sneakers on their little feet. It just makes you love them for their humanity. The nature of children is so pure, beautiful, and I just love every part about those little people.